Hello, everybody. It's Mark with the Sanctuary Networking community on Google+, and today we're having another community member spotlight interview. And my guest today is Greg Cooper. Greg, how are you doing today?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
All right, excellent. Let me get the blue box set up here, right, so people can actually see you when you're talking. So Greg, you've been a community member for a while, and I want to thank you. You've been actually, I think, in the community since pretty much the beginning, and very active, and engaging with people there. So first of all, thank you for being a member of the community.
Yeah, sure, it's a pleasure.
And you're over there in the UK, so we have it's a very small, tight community, but we have an international membership, and we're represented by the folks over there in the UK quite a bit. So I think we have a couple other members from there as well. But so I think you and I originally met on LinkedIn. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, because we're going to be talking tomorrow. Of course, when people watch this video in the future, it will not be tomorrow anymore. But we're actually doing another hangout tomorrow, LinkedIn for Professionals, where Greg, I, and Natasha Thompson are getting together, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn as well. So you might want to check back in. You get a chance to see Greg tomorrow too. So Greg, why don't you tell us all what you do? Give me your elevator pitch here.
Okay. Well, I'm a business-to-business marketing coach and a social media trainer. So I work mainly with small to medium-sized businesses, but also occasionally with larger businesses. So my particular focus on the training side is on LinkedIn.
Okay, excellent. So how did you get started in your business there?
Back in 2011, I was sold my marketing agency, and I was very fortunate in these economic times to be able to sell a business. And I took some time off, took 9 months off, and then I decided I wanted to get back into the business swing again. And one of the things that really I enjoy is learning things, and I'll maybe talk a bit later about what my background is, but I like to learn new stuff. And one of the areas where I felt I could learn the most and be really engaged and interested was in social media. So I decided I was going to use my coaching qualification, because I'm a qualified business management coach, and use my experience as it was at the time of social media and develop that. Initially, I thought I would be just doing social media courses. I thought there'd be a big demand for that, but I actually found that over here, at any rate, there were lots of sort of free social media trainings going on. So I started to migrate out from the social media generic field into more focused on LinkedIn, which I have a strong background in anyway. So that's how I came to doing mostly LinkedIn training these days. And on the coaching side, I've, as I say, been a qualified coach for some time, and I just really enjoy working with businesses and encouraging them.
Excellent. Well, I think that's important, because a lot of businesses are looking at social media now, and LinkedIn is still the big B2B platform, business to business platform. But there's such a learning curve for all of this stuff, and particularly anybody who's basically in any business, they don't have a lot of time to waste learning things. So it's good that you like learning things, which is important. You have the aptitude for it, and kind of help people along. So that's certainly needed. You can get all the free training you want, but sometimes you just need a live person who can say, no, I've already made that mistake, or I know this is the path you should take. It takes people like you and me to help people out. So how did you get started on Google+, Greg?
Well, interesting story, actually, because it was when I was doing, I'm an NLP master practitioner as well, actually. I don't know if you're familiar with NLP at all, neuro-linguistic programming. And I did my NLP training with an organization called the John Seymour Associates. And the managing director of that organization was Martin Shervington. And one of my projects, on one of my NLP projects, was how to write a non-fiction book. And Martin Shervington had just published his first book. So I was interviewing him about how to write and publish a non-fiction book. So that's how I got to know Martin. And then I later linked with Martin on Facebook. And from Facebook, I saw Martin's posts about Google Plus. So I then went away to investigate Google Plus, and Martin was incredibly enthusiastic about it. But actually, I have to be honest and say I didn't really get it. So I, I sort of potted around for a little while, tried a few things out, and after I just let it drop, and I kind of came back to Google Plus about 9 months later, and then Martin Cheverton by that stage got 350,000 followers, and it was all over Google Plus. So I'd obviously not made a very good decision there.
Well, that's interesting. So you actually knew Martin back before he was really all in. I mean, I'd say that now it's pretty fair to say that Martin's almost all in on Google Plus because he has Plus Your Business and all these specialized trainings. So back then he was still, maybe he was probably already on Google Plus, but not as committed. Because I found it interesting that you could even talk to him and not have him, draw you into Google Plus right off the bat. So you knew Martin before he was a Googler or whatever he calls,
Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's an interesting way to get started. I think there are a lot of people who, going back even over a year, Google still wasn't quite put together well enough that, it made a lot of sense to people to spend a lot of time. So I think your story is very similar to a lot of people who've tried out Google Plus, maybe even were one of the original, invitees. And it's very hard to judge because, of course, you want to be one of the early adopters, and then you're at the top of the heap with, hundreds of thousands of followers in a couple years. But on the other hand, there's so many brand new social media networks that you can't do that for every single one. So you have to,
I think there's a steeper and longer learning curve with Google Plus than what people are used to on social media platforms.
Right, it is, and I think that the folks that run Google, not to characterize them too much, but they're very, they're excellent engineers, and if you read their documentation, it has more of an engineering feel to it, which means that people that are more adept with technology were probably able to overcome that learning curve much more quickly. Of course, they're getting much better at it now. And of course, there are a lot of other people around now to help you with your Google experience. But yeah, early on, it would probably be pretty rough going to sort out, and especially as they're rolling out changes to put up with that. So, how has participation on social platforms helped your business?
Well, participation on social platforms is my business, really, because that's how I learn about them. The only way you can really truly learn about these different platforms is to use them. And you can't be an expert in everything. There is no such thing as a social media expert, because, as you know, all of the platforms change so frequently that even from week to week, they look different. So, I mean, I've concentrated on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google Plus. And currently I'm doing training on LinkedIn. I do also an entry-level training for social media to people who are non-marketers. I'm planning to do some Google Plus training in the near future, and I may add Twitter into that, but I'm not sure about Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter.
Did that answer the question?
I think you did. Well, let's see. I think that's good enough. We're not grading you on these, Greg.
Okay.
Gordon. So, Greg, I'm sorry. So now I've forgotten who you are, so now I'm having trouble too. I noticed that Gordon, I wonder if Gordon's one of the viewers here, so I saw he signed in earlier, so I need to get Gordon Bauer up on one of these too. Yeah. But okay, so let's step back a little bit here and ask you another big picture question. How did you get to be doing what you were doing?
Okay, well, my background actually is IT marketing. And in the 1980s, I set up a telemarketing company, and we attracted very early on IT clients. And I knew nothing about IT. And in those days, you remember DOS, Mark, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we thought when people were talking about DOS to us over the telephone, the S and the F get confused. So when people started mentioning this MS, we thought it was MS-TOF. So that's how naive we were. But so I'd spent the best part of 25 years running marketing agencies, working with some of the top IT companies. So, we deliberately focused on the larger companies, the larger corporates, the IBMs, the Siemens, the VMwares, the SAS Institutes, the SAPs. And one of my talent, if you like. It sort of don't know where it came from, but I've always been really good at selling to big organizations. So so that has been my career up until about April 2011. And I kind of decided that, I thought, well, do I really want to be doing this in 10 years' time? The agency had won awards. We'd been working for SAP, which is one of the world's biggest software companies, an Oracle competitor, as I think I mentioned to you, third biggest software company in the world. And they'd been our client for 16 years, and they still are the client of the company. But I thought, well, do I want to be doing this in 10 years' time? And I thought, well, actually, no, I don't. So that's when I decided I wanted to really move out and do something different. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do at that point, but that's a bit of my career, really. I do tend to step out and do things where I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next sometimes. I suppose it's an entrepreneurial trait.
Right, right. Well, that's excellent. I mean, I can certainly identify with some of that too. And it's great to build something, and after it's building and running smoothly, and it sounds like you did a fantastic job with your company there. After a while, it's well, that's good. What else can I build? And you want to move on a little bit.
Yeah.
So, entrepreneurs, I think, have that sense to them. They have to do that. What
Well,
was
I had also the benefit of working with lots of very large organizations very closely and working with some great people, but never ever having to get involved in their internal politics, which was great. Best of both worlds.
Excellent. Well, I think that, helps out when you're dealing at the higher scale of the client tier, that they don't, they manage that a little better. So we've heard about your business a little bit. What was your biggest business disaster or success?
Okay. My biggest business disaster was when I started up a software company selling CRM software. And those days it wasn't called CRM, it was called sales automation and marketing automation. And my partner and I were selling, actually it was an American package called SailMaker, that's right. We had some really good success early on, but then the UK went into recession and the overdraft rates went up to 19%. And all of our target market, the big corporates again, just put a big freeze on capital expenditure. So I ended up, I just moved into a new house, had 2 small children, and the business basically folded with debts that were pretty much the same as what we just paid for the house. So it was a pretty spectacular failure, actually, very, very stressful. And my biggest business success, I think, was when we won 2 marketing awards in the direct marketing agency I ran, and we were asked to go up to the Grosvenor Hotel in London to this awards ceremony. Nobody knew who'd won what, and my wife and I went up, and we were put on this table right at the back, and I thought, oh, that's very significant. Obviously, we haven't won anything. We're just making the numbers up here. But when it came to it, we won not 1 but 2 awards, which was really great. And that night I didn't sleep at all. I've got a great big golden statue. It's like an Oscar. It's really heavy, so that's upstairs in my bedroom.
What now? Why is that not sitting? You need to have a shelf for when you do hangouts right behind you there.
True.
You need to have your trophy shelf set up there, just a bare wall. So we need to.
I'll bring it down in future.
Even if it's make believe stuff, steal your kids' trophies for cricket and whatnot, and just line them all up. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, that's probably not a good idea. But people on the internet are very keen at spotting those kind of things, and your comments will end up on YouTube will end up being, isn't that a beauty pageant trophy or something? So
yeah.
So let me ask you this: what motivates you, Greg?
I think it's the desire to keep learning, Mark. I think if you keep learning, then you don't get old. You can retain that curiosity, and it keeps your brain alive and engaged. And there's always something more to learn, and that's why I really enjoy being involved in social media, because there's so much to learn in this area.
Excellent, excellent. What projects are you most excited about at the moment?
I've been asked to do a training in London in March for B2B Marketing magazine, and that's about driving leads with social media. It's a whole day training, so I'm really excited about doing that, going to work on that project. I'm excited about learning more about Google Plus and actually converting some of my knowledge into a training program. And I'm also excited about keeping working with the LinkedIn trainings. Every one I do gets better and better, and I get really good feedback on them. So I'm enjoying developing it all actually.
Excellent. Yeah, it's fun thinking, not just learning the things for yourself, but then thinking of ways to bring other people into it and show
Yeah,
them
I
how.
think you
Because
get a kick out of that as well, don't you?
yeah, just a little bit, yeah. And I've got the community there where I try to show people new things, and the interesting thing to me is that I can spend all the time in the world trying to research things and pick things that this is something I want to learn about, but it's the questions in the community, and probably you run into this in your live trainings even more so, where people say, well, what about this? And it's something you're like, wow, I hadn't even thought to check into that yet, and you get to add that to your list of here's something new I get to learn. So it's very rewarding helping people out because in reciprocation, they show you do things you need to learn. So interesting. Well, we need to get you, a personal social media assistant who can follow you to that big training. Maybe get us like some live tweet pictures of you, standing at the podium looking all impressive and stuff like that, and get you. I wouldn't venture as far as to say do a live hangout from the event because you're probably gonna have your hands full anyway. So we
Yeah.
won't load you up with that yet. So. Well, Greg, I want to thank you very much for taking some time to do the interview today and also participating in the community as you always do and sharing your ideas and your experience. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off today?
Just thank you for setting up the community and just how much I enjoy participating with all the people and learning from the people in this community.
Okay, excellent. And I see Gordon has actually said that he's watched this and participated, so we might actually get Gordon into one of these things too. So maybe you've enticed Gordon into an interview. So we gotta,
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody who tuned in to watch today or who watches on YouTube. I'll have some more information about Greg. Links to his website and LinkedIn profile will be in the description on YouTube along with the interview. So if you weren't able to catch it, live, it'll be up there for you later. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.